Well, hello. Welcome to program number 4. Time flies when you're having fun. 4 weeks already. It's hard to believe. I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate throughout the world. I tend to want to include everybody because that's how we get to share this wonderful love of God with the world. God didn't put us here to exclude people. He wants us to build bridges, not walls. So I welcome my friends from around the world. This fantastic music that was written anywhere from 50, 75, 100, 200 or 300 years ago. It's hard to beat that music. We have some good music being written today, but some of these old songs just have something in them. Back when I was performing, people, when I first started, that first little album I did for my mom and dad, and they would tell me, you know, we just don't hear these songs anymore. We love these old songs. And I write a song every now and then, but I'm not a prolific songwriter, so I realized, you know, I got to have material. And when I heard this over and over and over again, because they liked that first album because it had all those old songs on it, and I thought, well, you know, I grew up singing all these songs. I can record these old songs for them. So I wound up doing 6 albums worth, and I'm still working on it. I never realized I'd have a 7th album, but it's in the works. It may take me the rest of this year coming up. That might be my goal for this year, is to get album number 7 done and out. But anyway, I realized that was going to be my calling, was to help preserve these old songs. So our first song for tonight was a song that was written by Josiah Allwood. He wrote the song in 1879, and it got published, I think, around 1885, something like that. But he was a minister, and he was returning home from a debate one night. I think he had been to like Springfield, Ohio, and he lived in Michigan. I believe it's Morenci or Morenci. I don't know the correct pronunciation, but anyway, he had about a 10-mile ride that he had to do, or walk, or however he was traveling. And he said that on the horizon, he said it was a very clear night, but on the horizon there was this dark nimbus cloud, and he said it was an unusual occurrence. It must, I mean, I've never seen it. Normally you think of rainbows being in the daytime, you know, because the sun plays its little thing with the water particles in the air, and we get a rainbow. But he said he saw this rainbow on this cloud that night. But he said old Morpheus, which was his metaphor for sleep, was calling to him. He said he got home and he got a good night's sleep, but he said the next morning he got up and he went to the organ, and he worked for a little while, and he came up with the melody to this song. And then he said he spent about a day and a half working on the verses and the chorus. But it came to be known as the Uncloudy Day. So we're going to do it for you tonight. And I forgot to check what key this is in. I think it's in the key of E, but forgive me if I'm wrong about that. But anyway, we're going to do our version of the Uncloudy Day.
Oh, they tell me of a home far beyond the skies. They tell me of a home far away. Oh, they tell me of a home where no storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. Oh, the land of cloudless day. Oh, the land of an unclouded sky. Oh, they tell me of a home where no storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. Oh, they tell me of a home where my friends have gone. They tell me of that land far away, where the tree of life in eternal bloom sheds its fragrance through the unclouded day. Oh, the land of cloudless day. Oh, the land of an unclouded sky. Oh, they tell me of a home where no storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. Oh, they tell me of the King in his beauty there. They tell me that mine eyes shall behold, where he sits on the throne that is whiter than snow, in the city that is made of gold. Oh, the land of cloudless days. Oh, the land of an unclouded sky. Oh, they tell me of a home where no storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. Oh, they tell me that he smiles on his children there, and his smile drives their sorrow all away. And they tell me that no tears ever come again in that lovely land of unclouded days. Oh, the land of cloudless days. Oh, the land of an unclouded sky. Oh, they tell me of a home where no storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. Oh, they tell me of a home where no storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day.
For those of you who enjoy these great old gospel songs, I've put together a complete collection of all 6 of my gospel albums on 3 CDs. Most of the songs we'll be doing on the Friday Night Sing-Along are contained in this collection. There are 2 complete albums on each CD, and this collection also contains a book with the words and the chord changes I use to play each of the 62 songs. Perfect for those that like to sing and play along. Just go to our website, www.birdyeomans.com, and click the My Music Store tab, and this special offer will be at the top of the page. You can also email us directly if you prefer, and that address is linda@birdyeomans.com. You'll also find my individual CDs as well as DVDs of the Friday Night Sing-Along episodes. Now let's get back to some of that great old-time gospel music. This next song we're going to do for you tonight was written by Carl Jackson and Jim Rushing. In 1990, the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band did a version of it, and in 2006, Doyle Lawson and Quicksilver did a version of it. Jackson was a banjo player, and when he was 14, he went to work with Jim and Jesse. And after about 5 years with Jim and Jesse, he looked around a bit and he started playing with Glenn Campbell, and he stayed with Glenn Campbell for about 12 years. But in 2006, he was voted Bluegrass's MVP award, and I don't know if it was a result of this song or what, but anyway, he's very prominent in the bluegrass world, and you'll see his videos on YouTube, and I enjoy him quite a bit. But he wrote a song called Little Mountain Church. So we're going to do that for you tonight, and for those of you that like to play along, it's in the key of G.
My thoughts of yesterday, where friends and family gathered for the Lord. There an old-fashioned preacher talked the straight and narrow way for what few coins the congregation could afford. Dressed in all our Sunday best, we sat on pews of solid oak, and I remember how our voices filled the air. Now Mama voice sounded like an angel on those high soprano notes. When the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. Looking back now, that little mountain church house has become my life's cornerstone. It was there in that little mountain church house I first heard the word to base my life upon. At the all-day Sunday singing, dinner on the ground, many were the souls that were revived, while the brothers and the sisters who'd gone on to glory land slept in peace in the maple grove nearby. Looking back now, that little mountain church house has become my life's cornerstone. It was there in that little mountain church house I first heard the word to base my life upon. Looking back now, that little mountain church house has become my life's cornerstone. It was there in that little mountain church house I first heard the word to base my life upon. I first heard the word to base my life upon.
The next song we're going to do for you tonight is another well-known song. This song was written, it started out as a poem. A guy named Joseph Scriven was born in 1819 in Ireland, and his father was a captain in the Royal Navy, and he went to Trinity College in, I believe, London, got his degree, and was soon to be married, but the lady that he was to be married to drowned the day before they got married. And of course he was a bit despondent, so he moved from Ireland and went to Canada. He moved to a place called Rice Lake in Canada and became engaged to a young lady named Eliza Rice. And just a few weeks before they were to get married, she took sick and she died. So he's 25 at this point and very despondent. And he turned to the Bible, and after several days of reading and studying, he took a vow of poverty, and he sold all of it, everything he had, and he determined that he was going to be a help to people who needed help, people who were down and out. And but about 10 years after this took place, I suppose that would put him in his mid-30s, his mother took ill, but because he had taken this vow of poverty, he did not have the money to go home from Canada back to Ireland. So he wrote her this poem. He would later say that he and God wrote this poem. It sort of summed up how he felt about his life and everything. And a few of his friends got copies of the poem. He published it anonymously, but they of course knew who wrote it. And in 1868, a fellow by the name of Charles Converse wrote the melody to it and got it published. I suppose some of the friends had exposed it to Charles, and Charles, somebody in that group had pull with publishing companies. But ironically, Scriven drowned in one of the Canadian lakes in 1886, and he never got to see his song become the popular song that it did finally become. But this song is called "What a Friend We Have in Jesus."
What a friend we have in our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear. All because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. Have we trials and temptations? Is there trouble anywhere? We should never be discouraged. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Can we find a friend so faithful, who will all our sorrows share? Jesus knows our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Are you weak and heavy laden? Comfort with a load of care. Precious Savior, still our refuge. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Do thy friends despise, forsake thee? Take it to the Lord in prayer. In His arms He'll take and shield thee. Thou wilt find a solace there. Do thy friends despise, forsake thee? Take it to the Lord in prayer. In His arms He'll take and shield thee. Thou wilt find a solace there. So take it to the Lord in
Stuart Hamblin, I feel a kinship to this guy. His father was a minister just like mine, and we both were a bit the prodigal son. Stuart was, back in the 30s and 40s, was a bit of a movie star, and not this song, but there's another song I'll do by him in another program, and I'll tell you more about his story. But for tonight, we're going to do this particular song that he wrote. He and John Wayne were big buddies, and they would go hunting on occasion. And he said they were out on a hunting expedition, or whatever you want to call it, trip or weekend, or however they did that. And he said they came upon this old house, and they went inside, and this fella had passed away. He was sitting in his chair, passed away, and his dog was still there, guarding him, looking out for him. And so Stuart was moved to write a song called "This Old House." And Rosemary Clooney, this was in 1954, I believe, is when he wrote this. Rosemary Clooney recorded the song, and it became a #1 song. And then years later, an English fellow whose name escapes me at this point, it became a #1 song again. But that was in 1971, somewhere along in there. But anyway, so this song was #1 twice. And but anyway, we're going to do our version of it for you tonight. It's called "This Old House."
This old house once knew my children. This old house once knew my wife. This old house was home and comfort as we fought the storms of life. This old house once rang with laughter. This old house heard many a shout. Now she trembles in the darkness when the night wind walks about. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. Ain't gonna need this house no more. Ain't got time to fix the shingles. Ain't got time to fix the floor. Ain't got time to oil the hinges, nor to mend no window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. I'm a-getting ready to meet the saints. This old house is getting shaky. This old house is getting old. This old house lets in the rain, and this old house lets in the cold. On my knees I'm getting chilly, but I feel no fear or pain, 'cause I see an angel peeking through a broken window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. Ain't gonna need this house no more. Ain't got time to fix the shingles. Ain't got time to fix the floor. Ain't got time to oil the hinges, nor to mend no window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. I'm a-getting ready to meet the saints. My old hound dog lies asleeping. He don't know I'm gonna leave, else he'd wake up by the fireplace and he'd sit there growl and grieve. But my hunting days are over. Ain't gonna hunt for food no more. Gabriel done brought in the chariot when the wind blew down that door. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. Ain't gonna need this house no more. Ain't got time to fix the shingles. Ain't got time to fix the floor. Ain't got time to oil the hinges, nor to mend no window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. I'm a-getting ready to meet the saints. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. Ain't gonna need this house no more. Ain't got time to fix the shingles. Ain't got time to fix the floor. Ain't got time to oil the hinges, nor to mend no window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. I'm a-getting ready to meet the saints. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. I'm a-getting ready to meet the saints.
William Hunter was another Irishman that wrote some 125 songs. This particular song that we're about to do, he wrote in 1838, and a guy named William Miller wrote the melody that we know now a few years later, and I believe it was 1894 when it finally got published. But anyway, he was another Irishman that he was born in 1811 and he came to America in 1817. But this song is one, tonight I want to introduce you to a couple of ladies, kind of like special guests, but through the magic of video, these ladies and I worked together over a period off and on for about, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. When I first opened my studio back in the late 80s, after about 3 or 4 years, I had moved the studio from the shopping center to a place beside my house. My wife and I bought a house, and I actually started the studio. It started out as a storage room, but there was some kind of water problem in the mall where I was, and all of the carpet had just gotten soaked. And so I asked my wife, I said, I asked my wife, I said, this might just be a sign for me to move the studio. So we did. I insulated the walls and it was a one-room situation to start off with. So I moved it there because most of what I did was my material and the projects I was doing. Mainly, I would make tracks for people, and I didn't need a drum booth or anything like that at that time. It's too long a story to tell you how we grew into a little bit bigger situation, but I'll tell you that in time, but not tonight. But anyway, I met these ladies early on because they came in needing some tracks, needing to do an album, and not having a band, they needed somebody to create the tracks for them. And there were several people that I did that for, but these two ladies stood out because they could sing, they had neat personalities, they were fun to be around, and I never had sisters, but these two ladies became my sisters over time. And but anyway, Anita Bray and Carol Westbrook May, I was getting ready to do my second gospel album. I had finally, I met them before this, before I actually started doing gospel music, but I was producing gospel music because I was still in that limbo stage I told you about last week. I was feeling the call. I just hadn't figured out yet how to respond to it. I was wanting to really bad. But anyway, so I was producing some gospel music. But when I finally got to the point where I was going to do my second album, I had this vision of doing an album where I had three ladies that would do the backup, and we would do counterpoints material where instead of parallel harmony where everybody's singing together but just singing harmony parts, it's kind of like a call and response where you sing a line and they do a counter line, And it was just a challenge I was trying to challenge myself with. Just, can I do this? How can I make this sound with a backup like this instead of me doing all the harmony? So I asked them if they wanted to help me with the project, and they both said yeah. And we didn't realize what we were fixing to start by doing this. They were just going to help me do the album, and that was that. We never thought it would go beyond that. But I believe it was Anita had a friend, and she said, and it's been a while now, and I can't remember the lady's name. I wish I could, because I'd like to credit her with it too. But she said that would give you I was needing three, and they filled two parts. But anyway, she was good enough to come in, and so I had three ladies. And we used an unusual technique because at that point, I didn't have the multi-tracks like I have now. I had 8 tracks and then the MIDI tracks, which we could sync up with that. So we had to be careful how many tracks we used for vocals. So what we would do, you'll notice that the ladies' vocals have an unusually large sound. And what we would do is when each one of them would do their part, the other two would stand off to the side and they would sing as well. They would sing the 3-part harmony, but each part was featured one at a time up close to the mic so I could mix it later. But all of those voices together, when they blend together, we get this unusually large female vocal backup, which I loved. And it just turned out, we had so much fun doing it. We did 10 songs that way. And it wasn't long before I got my first call to do a church. And it turned out to be Emmanuel Baptist Church. And this talking segment's going to get a little long, I'm sorry, but I have to tell you about this. And they called, somehow they got in touch with Linda, and Linda booked all 3 of us as individual artists. Well, we had finished 4 of the songs on the album, and so I got to think, I'm going, y'all want to let's just sing the last 2 or 3 songs together since we've got these tracks and everything that we can use. And so they agreed. Well, we had so much fun that night. You know, we all did our individual set, and then we closed out with those 4 songs. We had so much fun. We thought, you know what, we ought to be singing together. So from then on, when we would do churches, we would all sing together, and we went under the name of Joyful Noise. And we did that off and on for several years. We still had our individual, where we would go and sing individually. That was mostly what we did, but we would do the churches as a group. But anyway, Anita and Carol just became dear friends. But I'll have to tell you this. About a week or two later, Linda and I were going, you know, if we're going to do gospel music, we're going to have to find a church to get affiliated with. And so we thought, well, you know, there's just, even among in the Christian faith, there's still a lot of different denominations and a lot of ways of looking at things and that sort of stuff. So we thought, well, you know, we'll try a few churches out. And so, but I was particularly taken by the pastor of Emmanuel because he played guitar and he sang. His name was Johnny. And so, without realizing, I said, you know, I kind of enjoyed that church we sang at the other night. You know, maybe we ought to go and meet Sister Patsy and Brother Johnny. And once we started going there, we never went anywhere. We never even tried another church. I guess God just put us there, you know. And so for several years, I played piano when I was at home, when I wasn't traveling. And I played piano in the church there, and Johnny played guitar. And from time to time, we would have a few other people sit in. But it was just a joyous experience. We enjoyed being in that church. And we miss it, but we moved up to the mountains. And, of course, now we're 130 miles away. But anyway, just thought I would tell you about that. But tonight we're going to do I Feel Like Traveling On, and Carol and Anita, through the magic of going back and taking some old video that we had done way back when. I've put this together in a way where you will see it as a performance with a little bit more modern touch to it than what we had done back then. But we just recorded this back when, never realizing we would ever do much with it, but I'm glad we did, because it's kind of like a time capsule now. But anyway, Carol and Anita are going to help me with I Feel Like Traveling On.
My heavenly home is bright and fair. I feel like traveling on. No pain nor death can enter there. I feel like traveling on. Yes, I feel like traveling on. I feel like traveling on. My heavenly home is bright and fair. I feel like traveling on. It's glittering tires, the sun outshine. I feel like traveling on. That heavenly mansion shall be mine. I feel like traveling on. Yes, I feel like traveling on. I feel like traveling on. My heavenly home is bright and fair. I feel like traveling on. Let others seek a home below. I feel like traveling on. Which flames devour or waves overflow. I feel like traveling on. Yes, I feel like traveling on. I feel like traveling on. My heavenly home is bright and fair. I feel like traveling on. The Lord has been so good to me. I feel like traveling on until that blessed blessed home I see, I feel like traveling on. Yes, I feel like traveling on. I feel like traveling on. My heavenly home is bright and fair. I feel like traveling on. Yes, I feel like traveling on. I feel like traveling on. My heavenly home is bright and fair. I feel like traveling on. I feel like traveling on. I feel like traveling on.
Well, that's our program for tonight. Thank you for being with us. Don't forget, visit our website, birdyeomans.com. And if you have any questions, email Linda at birdyeomans.com. And we hope that all of you had happy holidays, and we hope you have a great year ahead of you. Hope 2020 is the best year ever for you. But we'll be looking forward to seeing you next Friday night at 8 o'clock.